Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Uh, we warmly welcome you to TEAL2 Seminar number 7. Today, we have a topic of very interesting one, I guess, automated marking of paper-based multiple choice questions. So we know that we have online tools, automated tools for marking, MCQs automatically. But in some situations, we still need to use paper-based, MCQs, still from A levels to even the university setting. But then marking will be tedious if you do not have automated tools. And today, I hope this topic will contribute towards that. Right. Having said that, let me briefly talk about our TEAL2 project. I know some of you have already heard about our project TEAL 2.0. Basically, this is technology-enabled active learning environment. 2.0 means we have version 1 is for the backbone, and the main focus in the version 2 is we will have a cloud-based software platform where we can actually share our courses, the content, right, over the European as well as the Asian partner countries. So basically, this is a software project built on free and open source toolkit, which will enable open and distance learning. Right. And this is like we have 11 partners working together to achieve the single goal in mind. And in Sri Lanka, we have University of Moratuwa, University of Peradeniya, and SLTC, Sri Lanka Technological Campus Board. And then we have partners from South Asia, like India, and then we have India and Thailand, and then we have partners from European Union. So basically, at the end of this project, hopefully, we can have a setup where we can share our content each other, and which we do not have to repeat, and which will help resource poor institutions. Right, so that's about the partners, and then let me come back to our support and development center. Right now we are in the project, we are in the developing stage where we actually develop the software, and then next will be the testing. Once we had the tool, we are supposed to disseminate all these tools, the technologies which you can enable online distance learning tools. So to support this under engineering education unit at Faculty of Engineering University of Peradeniya, we have set up this unit to support this. And this seminar series is actually one element where we will have one seminar per month, which will contribute towards online teaching learning tools. Right. And as you can see, we have conducted 6 previous seminars. And we also set up our own YouTube channel where you can follow all the previous seminar. At the same time, we also maintain a WhatsApp group where we will share similar interests, similar content. If you're interested to know about like what is happening to you can join that. Right. Having said that, let's move on to today's topic. So the topic is automated marking of paper-based multiple choice questions, and our resource person, Dr. Isuru Navina, and he is actually a senior lecturer attached to the Department of Computer Engineering, University of Peradeniya. And if I briefly go through his bio, he has completed the computer engineering degree from the same university in 2011. And also now he holds a PhD from the University of South Wales, Sydney, Australia in 2016. Right. So Isuru, I would like to warmly welcome for the workshop 7. It's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So what I'll be doing today is like Sampath was saying, I'll do a demonstration about how to automatically mark printed answer scripts or handwritten answer scripts for MCQs using freely available computer software. There are paid computer software to get this done. There are multiple different options, but we are using a freely available version for the same purpose. So I'll be doing a very quick demonstration to show you guys how this is done. So yeah, so let me start. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, we can see.
Oh, okay, excellent. Right. So this is the web page of the software. It's called Auto Multiple Choice, AMC for short. So this is a free open source software developed by the open source community. So yeah. So what this is, what this allows, the features this allows are basically automate the marking of printed answer scripts through after you scan them, and prepare the answer scripts for the same process, as well as it allows some advanced features like say prepare the answer scripts with different answers shuffled between the answer scripts of different students. So you can use such features if you want, but I will be doing a very straightforward demonstration with a common answer script scheme for all students in an exam. So I think the link to the website is given in the chat, and you can go to install, and this is supported by Linux operating systems and Mac OS. Not Windows, unfortunately, but if you are using Windows like me, I'm using Windows on my computer, then you can access the software installed on a remote server at your institutions. You can have the software installed on a Linux server and access it remotely. That is how I'll be demonstrating. So let me get started. Right, so like I said, this computer is running Windows, so I don't have the auto multiple choice software installed on this, but I'll be using a remote server at our department to open up the software. So if you have the software installed on your own computer, you can just fire up the application by clicking on the icon. But I'll be like this. Right. So yeah, so that is the application. And what I'll be doing here, the first thing I'll be doing here is open a new project. So I can either open an existing project and work on it, but I will show you how to start with a new project. So I'll give a new name here. Now I'll be actually using the answer scripts from a real exam. So I'll try to keep it real as much as possible. So I'll call this project CO224, that is my course code demo. And I'll open a new project, and it gives me some options. I can open using a template, using a file, or I can open an empty project as well. What I'll be doing here is I'll open using a file, which is basically a template again. So I have a template in a file, template for the answer script in a file, and I'll be using that. So I had to point out the template file here. So this source.tex is the file that I'll be using as the template. If you are familiar with LaTeX tools for writing research papers and so on, you might be familiar with the file format. So, okay. Now I have opened the new project and I can edit the source file. As you can see, the format is LaTeX. Okay, so this is my source file now. It looks like a computer program. If you're not familiar with LaTeX, but if you're familiar with LaTeX, it's basically a way to write documents and do formatting in a slightly different way, so you can keep things consistent, easy to edit documents once you're working on a big project like a research paper. So now here I have the information rubric at the top, saying University of Pennsylvania, Faculty of Engineering, formatted in bold, face, and italics and all that. Font sizes I can space it. So pretty much all the formatting can be done here. So this is an semester examination. I have the course code. So this is what's going to appear on top of the answer script that will be given to the students. Then I add a box for the students to write the registration number. So that is kind of important in case you want to manually identify separately. And then there's an instruction saying answers must be given exclusively on this sheet. And I want the spaces to mark the answers to be given in 2 columns and 30 questions total. So I have from question 1, 2, 3 up to question number 30. That is basically the template. If I want more questions, I can add. If I want less, I can remove and edit pretty much anything on this and generate the answer script. So let's go to that. So what I'll do next is click on this update documents button, which will take a couple of seconds to convert the source file or the document you saw over here to a printable version. So it's asking me about the darkness threshold. Now, when the students are marking answers, they have to color the boxes fully. So the software needs a threshold to determine whether a box is colored or not. So that is what it's asking about. I can just say no and fix that manually later. Right. So now my document is up to date. I will then click on this layout detection button and it will generate the printable page, which I can open with this green little green button here. So that is my printable page. So you can see I have the information rubric as I had in the template file with the exam information. And there's a space to mark the registration number of the student. And there's a box to write down the registration number as well. And if you go down, you can see that is the space to mark the answers to the 30 questions. Question 1 to question 30, A, B, C, D. If I want more options, I can A, B, C, D, E, for example, 5 options. I can put that in the template file. And the little red boxes here and this blue box here, those stuff are basically the markers the software is putting on. Those are not going to be printed. Those are the things the software will be looking at, trying to identify in this particular sheet. Now you can see there are 2 black dots, actually 4 black dots on the 4 corners. Those are the markers the software is going to look for to identify the page, and the software is then going to look at the little boxes relative to those 4 dots. That is how the software is going to identify the markings the students are going to put into this. Okay, so now this is generated, and in my folder, working folder, now I should have a folder called 0224 demo, which I created for the new project. Inside that, you can see there are 4 PDFs here, and the one in the bottom which says doc subject should be subject, but somehow the software is mistyping the name. So if I open that file, that is the printable version without the software's red and blue markings. This is the printable version, which I can print, duplicate, and distribute with the question paper. So on the exam days, the students will be marking their registration number, writing their registration number here, and then marking the answers during the exam. Okay, then once the exam is done, we have to correct the answer scripts, the printed answer scripts which the students have marked the answers on, and scan them. And the scanned answer scripts can be in PDF format or can be as an image. Either way is fine. I have the scanned answer scripts as a PDF here. I actually have 2 PDF files with around, I think, 70 answer scripts total. So these are the files that I will be giving to the software to automark. And so I will show you some of the errors and issues in these answer scripts that the students are commonly doing in a little bit. But yeah, so these are the answers. These are the answers that I'll be feeding into the software. And other than that, I also have to let the software know the correct answers. So I have a separate answer script here made by myself, or it's called the teacher's answer script, with the correct options for the 30 questions. This I made digitally. I didn't print and scan. I made it digitally, and that is perfectly fine. So what I'll be doing next is I'll be copying these files to the scans folder in my project. So I'll be copying the correct answers and the 2 answer scripts. 2 files containing 70 answer scripts. Take a few seconds to copy the file. I had a copy because my software is running on a remote computer, not on my local computer here. Right. Okay. Now the files are copied. Now I will go back to my software and go to the second stage here, which is the data capture stage. So what we're going to do now is get the software to look at the answer scripts and identify the answers students have marked. So we can do that manually or automatically. There are 2 different options. So why you want to do manually is if you don't have a way to scan, you can manually enter the answers done by the students if there is such a situation. But I usually go for the automatic option because scanning and doing scanning is a lot easier. So let's go for the automatic option. And it's going to ask me for the files. So I'll have to point to the files which are in my demo project under the scans folder. So I can select all 3 files, including the teacher's answer script. And I'll select here at the bottom the option that answer scripts are photocopied. Why that is there, why that option is important, because if in case you are giving customized answer scripts, separate answer scripts to separate students with the answers shuffled and so on, you have to go for the other option, which is different answer sheets. Here, I'm going to use the photocopied, meaning duplicated answer scripts, and then click OK. Now, the software is going to take a few minutes to go through these sheets, separate out the individual answer scripts, and find the markings, the little boxes that that the software will be putting around the colored circles. So while that is happening, I'll go back to our scanned answer scripts and show you some of the things that we usually see. So, okay, so this is a good example of a properly marked answer script where the student had marked their registration number properly and marked the answers, completely colored the circles without any extra markings on the sheet. So this is an ideal outcome that you can expect. But like you said earlier here, it doesn't always happen. There are always a few students who will scribble a little line or tick or cross through the circle without coloring it completely. Then there may be instances like, say, in this instance, the student had marked all boxes. This is in the registration number, so it's not a major issue because the student is writing the number anyway. But it can happen in the answer boxes as well, in which case you need to pay attention to that. And yeah, here's another situation that you might come across. The student had marked 2 boxes and then decided to cross out one. I'm sure you come across such situations. So it's up to then our judgment to decide whether the student had crossed out because they think that answer is not correct, or whether because they think that answer is the correct one. That is going to be a judgment call, regardless of whether you're using auto marking or not. So you'll have to do that manually. Yeah, such situations can happen. But for the most part, if you give some initial instructions to the students about how to properly mark the answers, they usually stick to that. Apart from 1 or 2 exceptions. So in this case, the registration number is not marked, which is again not a major issue. And the circles are not properly colored. So the software is going to identify is that darkness threshold is going to come into the picture. So yeah, such situations can happen. And let me see. Yeah, this is another type of marking that you can come across. Crosses can happen. Yeah, likewise, the markings on the answers may differ, but it's not going to pose us a big issue. So let us go back to the software now. It has completed separating out the answers and trying to identify. So you can see these 2 different measures. MSE is the mean standard error, and sensitivity. Sensitivity refers to that darkness threshold, and all of the answer scripts here are marked as high or too much deviating from the threshold, because the threshold is currently set to a very low value by default. So what I would do next is I'll go to the scan and I'll set the darkness threshold, the lower value. I will increase it. It's currently at 0.15. I'll increase it to about, I usually go to 0.7. And it should automatically readjust the answer details here. And yeah, so you can see most of them went white. There are a few red markings. So these answer scripts, there are a total of 71 here, including the teacher's one. So these red ones are basically the ones where the circles are not colored fully or not colored dark enough. So the next thing I do is I go to the manual mode. And I will look at the answer scripts to see whether there are any issues. So you can see the button original here. I will change it to scan. So the scanned answer script will appear here. Right. Okay. So the first one, somehow the first one, I think I didn't select the teacher's answer script as the first one. So that is why the first one is the student's answer script here. So you can see these markings are not picked up by the software, the registration number. So, and some answers are not picked up in this particular answer script. So what you can do in such situations is just click on them. So they will be picked up. And this can happen when a student just put a little scribble like this or cross or a tick on the circle rather than color them. We can mark such things. And these ones are expected to be good. Yeah. So in this one, everything is picked up properly as long as the student colored the circle decently well enough. It picks up automatically. But these red ones are where some stuff are not picked up, or there may be issues like multiple markings are picked up. Remember this particular answer script that I showed you where 2 answers are marked for question number 27, it's picked up here. So now it's up to me to decide which answer had the student intended me to take as a correct answer, or their intended answer. So I'll in this case I'll think the crossed out one is not marked, and the registration number I'm not paying much attention in this particular instance because I'm going to do the indexing separately. I'll worry about the answer markings mostly. So yeah, I can do corrections like that, and the color will change on this column, saying that something had been updated. And technically, I should go through the entire list to properly identify these things. So you can see here, this particular question, the answer was not colored dark enough, or I think colored by pencil, I think. Colored is in a pencil. So that is why that answer script is marked in red. And if I go to the next red one, yeah, here we have process. So I will have to check everything or click on the correct answers or mark the answers again. So if you give the instructions to the students before the exam, hopefully you can minimize this to maybe say 4 or 5 cases. And you can deal with it without spending too much time. So, okay, so I should go through the entire list, but I won't do that right now because it's going to take 5-10 minutes for me to verify that everything is in order. So, okay, so the next step is to do the marking. Now the software had already recognized the circles that the students have colored. Next step is to get the software to do the marking. So I need to set the marking, the maximum mark the students can get. Now there are 30 questions here. So I have set the maximum mark for mark as 30 with the granularity at 0.5. So 1 mark each question. You can update it as you need. And then I'm going to click on the mark button. Right now, what the software is asking for is the correct set of answers, or the teacher's answers. So ideally, if I had selected the teacher's answer file as the first one when I did the scanning, it should come up here in the first instance. But since I did not do that, I have to now look for it. Let me see if it is at the very end. And there it is. Right. That is the script with the correct answers. Then I'll apply it, and the software is going to take a few seconds to do the marking. Right. Okay. So the marking is now done. If I want, I can add a student list here with names and other details, but I won't do that for this demo purpose, and I don't want to expose the real details as well. So if I click on this green button here, I can open up the marks table. That is the table generated by the software. The mark out of 30 is given here, and the individual marks for individual questions are also there. And the one colored in green is the teacher's answer scripts with all answers marked correct. And you can get some statistics at the end as well. Now, what I'll be doing next is generating a report with these marked answers. And I can do that using different file formats. I can get a PDF file if I want, a comma separated vector file, or a list of values, comma separated, or an OpenOffice. OpenOffice is similar to Microsoft Office, but open source format. So yeah, I'll do that. And since my file is on the remote server, I won't open it directly there. I'll let it export the file. Now, my file should be in my folder under this export subfolder. There is a file called CO2 demo ODS. And if I open it, my local computer, that is what I get. Now, like I said, my local computer is using Windows, so the compatibility issue between the OpenOffice and Microsoft Office come into the picture. So some of these equations are not coming in properly. I can deal with that easy enough, saying this should be the sum, the total of the marks. That. Copy it. Set. That's it. So this is my mark sheet now with the total, the maximum mark that is 30. So the first student had gotten 23 out of 30, second had 21 out of 30, and so on. Then the individual questions marks are also there. And you can see some of these boxes are colored without values like this. So if you look at this legend sheet here, that will tell you what those colors mean. So yellow is no answer, cancelled, not applicable, invalid answer. So all these things are there if you are using those features from the software. So invalid answers, hopefully you should have corrected using that manual mode, like say 2 answers are marked, should usually be marked as invalid. But since I corrected that instance, that got ironed out. And I have some no answer situations in the marking scheme. Why this is so is because the markings that the software didn't pick up, like these crosses. I remember the crosses were not picked up automatically. I had to mark them manually. So I didn't mark all answer scripts manually like that. All say crosses or all answer scripts crosses or little scribbles like that. So that is why some of these rows or little cells here and there are marked as yellow, meaning no answer. If I had done that properly in the manual phase, this should all be cleared out. And the registration numbers, the people who had marked properly automatically should come here. If they hadn't marked properly or made errors, then that should be problematic, but you can easily trace it with the list of answers that you scan. The order that you scan is there, so you can easily figure out which is which, because the writing is here. And that is pretty much it. So this is for a class of 70 answers, which it took me about less than say 20 minutes to get the entire marking done. If I had spent, let's say, some extra 10 minutes going through the things manually, maybe half an hour, plus some additional time to scan. So this becomes really handy if you are dealing with a class of 100, 200, 500, 1,000 students. It's going to save a lot of time. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
There's one question in the chat. There's one question in the chat.
Okay. Let me have a look. I'm not seeing it for some reason. Maybe it didn't come to me.
Yeah, the question is, can the source file be done on Overleaf and uploaded in this software?
Yeah, you can edit the source file in any editor, Overleaf, or even a notepad. And you can just copy the source file to your software.
Other than that, if you have any other question, I think the audience can raise, please.
So you can edit the source file in any editor.
Do we need to merge all the answer sheets, or can we have them separately?
You can have them separately. I usually find it easier to have it in one file. So when you're copying or keeping them documented, it's easy. Any other questions? So there are other options and features to the software. Like I said, you can customize the answer script to have the answers shuffle between students. So you can minimize the plagiarism that might happen. Features like that are there. You can go and explore them for yourself.
Maybe Isuru, may I ask a question like what are the common mistakes that you will see from the student side?
Right. The common mistakes are the most common mistake is not coloring the circles properly, like I showed you. Like this. So yeah, like this. So students just put a cross on the inside the circle without coloring it properly. So you will have to spend some extra time helping the software pick them up. That is the most common mistake. And there can be odd issues like, say, students not marking the registration number properly here, in which case you have to add the registration number manually, which happens like perhaps less than 5% of the time. So I find myself having to spend a little bit of time to correct those things in the marking process. Other than that, situations like marking multiple answers or changing their mind and crossing out two different circles and then crossing out something altogether can happen. And students might write little, say, in situations like that, say, for example, if this student thought this answer was not the correct answer and wanted to change that, they might change and write something on the side. So those things can be picked up by the software. Say if multiple answers are marked, it can be picked up. But it's always good to go through the answers, to do a quick scan to see whether there are such instances, just to make sure for yourself.
So if somebody wants to, learn this software, how easy or difficult like?
I wouldn't say it's the easiest software because it's open source and Linux based, but the graphical interface is there. So once you go through it once, it becomes fairly easy and straightforward. But there are other easier to use software probably, but paid. There's a question I couldn't follow how you scan the paper-based answers. Okay, so scanning, what we usually do is we put the bundle, order the answer script in the bundle and put it into the scanner machine, and it will scan one by one and create a PDF file automatically. Sometimes if the machine is old and tends to get stuck, it might get stuck half the way, then you'll have to resume from there. That's how you end up with multiple files, like how I had here, part 1 and 2. So the machine got stuck halfway and I had the rest of the bundle scanned in the second document. You can, these mobile phone scan apps are there these days, but they won't help you a lot because the software need to identify these markings based on the 4 dots in the 4 corners of the paper. So if you try to scan using an app, a phone by taking photos, you can't guarantee that you are going to get these 4 dots on a proper rectangle. There can be distortion, and usually it happens. So in such cases, the software finds it difficult to find the marks, the little boxes that it puts around the circles.
Right. If you do not have any questions, we can conclude. Is there anyone having?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Ramesh, your voice is not very clear.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, now it's better.
Okay, so I actually we were seeing the good work, maybe this TEAL2.O and maybe the you and the team doing. So today MCQs, maybe previous session we were looking at, how the essay type questions are marked using a nice tool. So Dr. Professor, what is your plan? You will be making these tools available for like general public, maybe through a website or something, or you like someone interested has to just contact you personally and get it? What is the way forward? What are you planning to, how you plan to get this adoption to these tools?
One question is like, for example, this tool is actually freely available. I think I will repost the website where you can directly download and then install the the software. So software is a free and open source one. This is actually, we have not created this, but we are really using this. For example, first year marking, we have about like 500 students. And I think around 5 years now, Professor Agal, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. We are using the software to mark our first year students, computing papers. And similarly, there are some, other courses we actually use this tool. But for the help, I think, yes, you can, I think you can contact Professor Agal, Dr. Isuru, and also like we have some other, staff members which you can help. Yes, definitely you can contact one of us. You are welcome to contact Dr. Navin. I think Isuru, you don't mind, helping them out.
No, that's all right. Happy to.
Okay, then if you do not have any other, questions, I would like to wind up the session. Again, I would like to thank Dr. Isuru for taking your time and energy to, prepare this. I know you are actively using this. But at the same time, I think this is really useful, especially we know even A levels they used to mark in manually, which I think speed up the process. And we are really happy to help you. And even in your faculties, if you think of using this tool, I think we can help you out. Especially, we will also have all these recordings online. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So by following the steps, I hope you can make use of this in your day-to-day lives, and it will be, you'll get easier. So thank you, Dr. Isuru, for taking your time to have presentations on automated marking of paper-based MCQs. And I also would like to thank all the participants spend time and learning all these new tools, because this is where I think we should be heading since we are the practitioners of online distance learning education. And hopefully in future months, we can also have, I hope we can have our software training as well. So you can also, in case if you're working in, different set of tools, and if you would like to, join us and share your experience, we are always warmly welcome. Please write to us. Please do join our WhatsApp group. So having said that, I would like to conclude the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again. I hope to see you on next month with our seminar series number 8. Thank you.